Welcome to the Discovertron Multiple Choice Tester Scratch program. My name's Ryan and I am a computer science teacher. Woo! It's been a long day, but we're going to crank out this video here. What we're going to do in this program is we're going to make a real simple multiple choice game. Now, what I've done is I just kind of stuck with math, just because math is so commonly associated with programming. However, what you're going to see here is you can use this for any sort of multiple choice question. This is great for building review games. Just a lot of possibilities with this kind of stuff. You can even put some, those questionnaires you like to ask each other out there. But the main thing is, just remember flexibility with this. I'm just going to use fractions, converting to decimal points, but you can do anything with this that you want. All right, let's go ahead and get started. Oh, and just so you know, I'm going to break this video up in multiple points just because I don't want to make the videos very long. I've been getting some feedback saying the videos are too long. And so what I'll do is I'll try to make them a little bit smaller. All right, let's go ahead and get to work. And one other thing, I'll keep saying one other thing. I'll just keep saying it no matter what, is that what I'm going to do with these videos is I'm going to show you the completed code as we go along, so that way you can just pause the videos instead of putting them all together and you sitting there watching me misspell words and put blocks in the wrong spot and this and that. I'm just going to keep the entire piece of code up at one time, so that way you can immediately see what's going on with the code and immediately copy it down, and I'll explain to you what's happening and what might show up on your screen as you progress. And typically with what's going to happen here is that you wouldn't really see the end results. You would see some incremental results, and I don't really know if that has a lot of value or not. Even though I've been doing this for a while, it's the jury's kind of out on that one. So what's going to happen with this program, we'll click on the green flag. It's going to tell you the question number right here. It's going to give you the question. In this case, it's 1 divided by 2. Down here is a score window. It's kind of similar to the other programs that we created. And then over here we have 4 different answer choices. If you put your mouse over it, I made the little button for the answer choice get bigger and smaller, and kind of it's like it's pulsating on the screen to kind of look cool. And there's 4 answer choices. One of the answer choices will always be correct, as you probably figured out. But what I mean by that is one of these answer choices is always going to be correct. In this case, the correct answer down here is 0.5. If you look at my sprites over here, okay, there's 0.5. It's answer 1. That's actually the name of the sprite, okay? So this sprite will always be the correct answer, which is answer 1. What we're going to do is we're just going to, watch this. Let's restart it. It's 5 divided by 5, which is 1.0. Oh, I forgot about that little error. We'll fix that later. Okay, so 5 divided by 5, which is 1.0. And actually, that's what we'll do together. We'll put the code together, then I'll show you how to go through and fix that. Okay, it's going to be totally awesome. You're going to love it. All right, so the correct answer will always be this sprite right here. Okay, and you're probably thinking, well, how do I know which one's right? Is it this one or this one? Well, I'm just going to come in here and I can just move it back and forth. Okay, so there's the correct answer with that one. And let's get back to 90. There we go. So that's the correct answer choice. And let's rerun it so we have it set up again. So 3 divided by 3, 1.0. There you see it's the correct answer. It'll show up in random locations. Okay, up in this case, answer 1 sprite is up here at the very top. And let's go through the code, and then we'll fix that one error I showed you where we had a scenario where, let's see if we can make it come up again. It only happens whenever we're dealing with, there we go. It didn't happen in this case. Let's see, no. Well, all right, let's just pretend that it won't come back for a while. There it is. Okay, so whenever we have it coming out to 1.0, for some reason this wrong block doesn't automatically set to a different answer choice. It sets to the same correct answer choice. Okay, so we'll fix that little error in the code, and we'll do that together. We'll just kind of figure it out. So let's walk through the code here and get ready, set, go. The first sprite we're going to program is the problem sprite. Up here underneath our green flag tool, we have 2 variables. Round active, we set that to false, and then we have question number, and we set that to 0. Okay, we set it to 0 because Over here, we are going to change question number by 1 every time this block of code is called. Okay, and this block of code will get called every time we go through a different question. So this block of code right here is going to get called every time we go through a question. Down here, I put this when the space key is pressed, broadcast play game. The reason I put this is so I can manually test the game if I wanted to. Okay, if I was in the middle of doing something, I could just press the space key and it's just going to, let me know if I can just switch the answer choices. It gave me a quick way to go through and test things without having to go up here and click on the green flag tool, which I guess I technically could have done, but I like to speed things up with the space. So if you don't copy this part, it's okay. So don't worry about this one. If you copied it, that's cool. No big deal. It's just a way to manually cycle through all the different problems. I'm going to make sure this is stopped. Okay, so we established those two variables. We broadcast play game, and it comes over here to this particular piece of code. One other thing let's check out. If I right click on broadcast play game, I can choose show receivers, and it's going to highlight every sprite in yellow that receives this broadcast message. In our case, the only sprite that gets it is the problem sprite, which you can see right here. So when I receive play game, we're going to set round active to true. Next, we change the question number by 1. Remember, we started at 0, so that way every time we go through the code, it would start with number 1. Some users might get confused if we started with 0, so we're going to start it at 1 by changing by 1. Now here's something new. We created a list. And I wanted you to see a list at some point in time. A list is essentially an array.
Arrays.
List is going to contain values that we're going to use for the Y position. Now how do you make a list? You come over to data, come to make a list right here, then you click on make a list and you give it a name. I've already made my name. One other thing you can do is you can make it for all the sprites or you can make it for this sprite only. So it's totally up to you on which way you want to do it. Alright, so in our case we created the list, and what we're going to do is we're going to delete all of the values of this Y position list. Okay, we're clearing it out every time the play game block gets called. Remember, this block of code is what runs the questions. So we want to clear it out every time, and then every time what we do is we add back to this list these values. Okay, in a list, let me show you what it looks like. We come over here, I'm going to show it up on the screen. Let's go ahead and run it, and oh, naturally it doesn't show up because it makes me look silly. Okay, I remember what happens here. Is the reason it shows up empty is because we are deleting all these values throughout the code and all these other sprites right here. And I'll show you what's going to happen with that. But let's go ahead and break this apart so you can see it step by step. If I click on the green flag tool, you can see here that we add these values back. Okay, and they just add to the Y position for this list, for this list, which we will use for the Y position. Okay, so this wasn't just a fancy name, it's actually a very descriptive name. If we wanted to, we can add a lot more to it. If you want to really expand on this, if I click on the green flag, and let's run from the beginning. Okay, right here, see how it's a slider handle? That's because I have all these other different values inside this list here. Okay, so you can put quite a bit of information in there. I don't know what the limit is for Scratch, but let's go ahead and keep 4 because that's what I've done. And if I click on the green flag tool, you'll notice it deletes them all. And here, the Y position for 100, it did not get deleted. And that's one of the errors that we saw earlier. Remember how I said, hey, we're going to go together and fix this? Okay, that's the error that pops up because if I run it, okay, it doesn't always delete like it should, and that could cause some issues. All right, so let's finish looking at this code here. So our problem is going to go to these XY coordinates, and the problem is actually a sprite. If you look at the costumes, okay, and I'll give you a copy of all these. What I've done is I've made all these costumes right here. I use the vector graphics inside Scratch, and what you can do is when you go through these different costumes for the problems, you can put any kind of problem in that you want to change. I'll go through and we'll make some adjustments once the program's done, and we'll turn this into a different type of game. For right now, you probably have my project files. If you don't, you'll have to draw these yourself. If you want them, you got to smash that like button, and you got to smash that subscribe button, and you got to listen to me say, boy! I mean, you just got to do it, and then I'll get you the files, and you can follow along with these things. You're going to be totally glad you did, okay? And then at the end, we'll change it to, we'll make it a, I don't know, a science game or something. Down here, we set the answer to a random value, and we pick from 1 to 14. Why did I pick 1 to 14? Okay, I picked those values because that is how many costumes I have over here. Okay, there's 14 costumes, and we pick from 1 to 14. Okay, so it's going to pick one of those values right there. Next, we switch the costume to the answer. So this answer gets a random number, and then we switch the costume of the sprite, which is the problem sprite, to the value of answer. Okay, so whatever answer is, we can pop it up right here on the screen. There it is. Okay, when we run it, say answer is 6 right here. Okay, I can come over here to costumes and see that value 6 is 1.5, and that's why it appears on the screen. Let's see. Once this is done, we broadcast a message out to the other sprites called answer 1. And let's go ahead and right click on this, choose show receivers, and you can see our next receiver right here is a sprite called answer 1. So what I'm doing is I'm just creating a broadcast message name that basically indicates which sprite I'm sending the next message to. Now this won't be entirely true once I move into these other two sprites, which I'll explain that once I get here. These are kind of generic, so I just gave them some names like WT3. That means wrong temp 3, and WT4 for wrong temp 4. Okay, let's go ahead and let's wrap up this video. I'm going to move into the next video, which will explain answer 1, wrong, and the other 2 temps for wrong. And I think we should be able to wrap it up with the messenger and sprite 1, which just holds the background image for the question number, then sprite 2, which just holds a background image for the score. I'm going to go ahead and put those on this video just since they're pretty easy. So sprite 1, which says question number, it just has an XY coordinate. It just goes there every time. If you took my other videos, you're probably thinking, hey, why didn't you do that thing where you layer it and you make it always snap to the XY coordinates? Okay, I didn't do that because, you know, I just didn't do it this time. Now, if you want to, I really encourage you to do those things so that way you can really build on your skills. Score, which is sprite 2, right here, it does the same exact thing as sprite 1. It just goes to these XY coordinates to just establish it down here. Now, you can do some other things with it that you want, but I'm just going to keep it real nice and simple because the majority of our code will be coming into these 4 sprites right here. And then the messenger sprite, let's explain that one in the next video. All right, thanks for watching, and we'll see you here soon.